Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Joining me now is the guy on the left, Aaron William Freeland, and me a little bit to the right of where he is. I always wondered, and I know you'll go for this remark. Why do they call people on the right when they're usually wrong?
See, that I can't help you with, Frank. I wish I knew.
Well, I don't see you arguing the point at all with me right now.
No, just over the nomenclature, not as to whether or not they're right or wrong. That's, I mean, that's still up for debate, but
I wrote this thing on my telephone at I think 4:00 in the morning this morning. I wrote it on. I saw a mutual friend, Jared Harris, posted about an ambulance that had difficulty. Anyway, had difficulty because of the protest, the truck, and anyway, I wrote this. I want to write it, and then I want to read it, and then you can comment on it and give me your view. Okay, one EMS transport carried a fellow Canadian, was blocked and interfered by this protest, making the drive 45 minutes instead of 10. The innocent Canadian died due to the extreme delay by the anger and malicious interference of selfishness. The trucking industry and its drivers have a legitimate protest, one that is tainted by civil war. Nazi flag bearing fascists with only one agenda: to attack what our country stands for. Their disrespect for our way of life, its heroes, was exemplified in their use and abuse of the Terry Fox statue in the tomb of the unknown soldier, and also spitting on people working at the freedom of the press. During times of war, in the past, present, and in the future, Canadians have been and will be asked to put their lives on the line for the good of all of us. Some reject the sacrifice while others race to and stay at the front lines. I'm a son of immigrants, proud to be a fellow citizen of every Canadian, even the misguided ones. I am vaccinated for the same reason I would fight for Canada, because with all its faults I can see around me, I am pretty lucky to have lived here. Something we owe Canada, and that's OH, Canada. Pay your debt. So you can tell I was a little irritated by the fact that it's not again, this is something I don't want to be misinterpreted. I'm sure a lot of people who read that somehow were able to see it on my Facebook page may think I'm against the protest. I want to make it very clear, Aaron, I'm not against the protest. But what I am against are people who are, shall I say, to a degree in agreement with the protest, but not really. They just see an opportunity to expose their agenda to the general public.
now I will say this, and again, like you, Frank, I don't want to be misinterpreted for this. I do understand what the truckers are trying to do, and we're talking about the original goal of the protest, which is to bring the attention to how unfairly the vast minority of Canadian truckers are being treated by the vaccine mandate. Now, what they forget is that it's not just Canada that has a double vax mandate at the border, it's the United States as well. So even if Canada drops what they're doing, the United States still hasn't. So they're in the same boat, unable to ply their trade on both sides of the border. What I am upset with, like you, Frank, are those individuals who have glommed onto this. In particular, there are a couple figures, one by the name of Tamara Lee Litch, who was responsible for looking after the $9 million that was raised through a GoFundMe for these truckers, which is supposed to be used to defray expenses. The other is Patrick King, who is a known yellow vester. He is a Western chauvinist and separatist who believes in the white replacement theory, conspiracy theory. He also mentioned that it doesn't seem like Tamara is actually answering her phone anymore. So the person who's in charge of the $9 million that has been raised appears to be in the wind. So,
or at least not available. Not available.
No, not available. Hasn't been answering her phone for the past 24 to 48 hours, which is, obviously causing them concern. My issue is the fact that these people, these individuals, part of the Wexit Party and a known yellow vester, have tried to co-opt what the truckers are trying to do, and as a result of fringe elements like the 3%er, which is an acknowledged hate group in Canada, the Yellow Vesters and the Wexit Party, now currently known as the Maverick Party, have all attached themselves to this and are trying to ride. And this is what the alt-right does. It finds an issue that polarizes people and attaches themselves to it, even if their views don't necessarily agree. And they've made their intentions clear. One of their main goals in their publicly posted manifesto is that they want Trudeau gone. They want him to resign. They want a new election. And if not, they want Aaron O'Toole installed in this, or the Conservative Party installed in the seat of power instead. That is, they've made that abundantly clear. Independents like Randy Hillier appearing in public with them, as well as Michael Cooper, who did a couple TV hits with Nazi flags in the background, or Canadian flags defaced with Nazi symbols. Said he didn't know that these sorts of people were going to be there. All of this feigned ignorance really infuriates a lot of people, and they need to see that.
Well, okay, boy,
No, I'm sorry. There's a lot there, Frank. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. You're on your roll, and let's remind everybody on this program, Aaron has his views. They're his personal views. Nobody's telling him what to say. So, and the same things for me. We're just here trying to spitball, if you will. And yes, Aaron is an avowed, and he knows he's a bit to the left. I like to consider myself kind of center left, not center right, center left. So that's how I identify. But I'm beginning, as Aaron knows, I've gone through a bit of a history here where I'm getting further away from the left, not further away from Aaron, just further away from the left. Maybe that makes me go further away. Now, what I want to make clear here to everybody, anybody who's paying attention, we're having a conversation here. Aaron's not telling me how to think. I'm not telling Aaron how to think. And we're not telling you how to think. Now, at some point, maybe we can find somebody who can, calmly and like an adult speak from whatever we want to call any opportunity on the right. So until then, I guess somebody has to take that mantle, and I'll do it like this, and I'll be the devil's advocate. I won't pretend. I'm trying not to be. I don't want to be a hypocrite or mislead. So just for the sake of having a fairer conversation, I'm sure I'll never be able to represent the other side that Aaron's referring to in a good way or good enough. I understand that. The problem even with people who are in the Brexit category, I don't know about the Mavericks, I don't know about all these other things, but the Brexit folks, the people who, forget the name, the people in the West who are dissatisfied with Canada and how they're treated. And in turn, they basically, I think, this is my opinion, they pick on Trudeau because he is the Prime Minister of Canada and he represents the East more than anybody they can figure, right? And O'Toole represents somebody who would be more Western friendly. So obviously they're going to take the side of O'Toole. They're going to go anti-Trudeau. But there are some legitimate complaints, just as I said about the protesters on the road. The Brexit folks most Westerners do not like how the oil industry is treated by the federal government, the total government, right? And quite frankly, it's an economic nightmare for the people in the West. That can't be overlooked. The fact is that financially, we're all paying for what the Trudeau government has decided to do when it comes to the petroleum industry and how they treat it. The pipeline, so much so, was a good idea that the West wanted to push. The irony is that it isn't Trudeau that stopped it. So he isn't the enemy in this case. It, in fact, is Biden in the U.S. who ended it. If I have my facts straight, right, Aaron? You support me on what I'm saying on that part?
Yeah,
I'm nodding your head, so I guess you do.
Yes.
So in essence, a lot of the anger and angst that the Western people have personally against Trudeau really isn't because of him. It's because Biden ended it all. My point is this. is that unfortunately, it seems when it comes to extreme people, it doesn't matter. By definition, an extreme person is a person who can talk, who can think. Only one tiny little problem with extreme people: they don't hear too good, they don't listen. They just talk and they just look down their nose at people. And I speak of people on the left, far left, the same way as I'm speaking to the people on the far right, which is why I've been driven into the middle, because I'm sick and tired, okay, of watching good citizens. I consider the trucking industry good citizens. I consider the drivers good citizens. These are people who make a sacrifice for this country. And let's keep in mind, part of the reason why we're having trouble stocking our shelves is because some drivers can't drive. So here's the problem. As Aaron pointed out, and they did in this protest, they both complained about the US and Canada. In fact, they did so well enough, loud enough, that even Donald Trump talked about them as well. He referred to them as well in his support for this protest that was happening in Canada, right? So what I'll say is this, to conclude a sort of kind of rebuttal to what you said, is there are a lot of people out there who have legitimate beefs. Unfortunately, when the legitimate beefs are brought forward, there are a lot of hangers on and people who say, and you know what else? But the misfortune is, and don't forget now, folks, if you're paying attention, the trucking industry wrote a statement to ensure that people understand that they don't support much of the activity that happened around their protest. So they themselves understand and repudiate the behavior. For example, Civil War flags, right? Swastikas, getting statues that deserve respect, like I said, in my little writing, you know, I mean, dancing on the unknown soldier's epitaph. I mean, does this not make you think, for the people who do that, why aren't there people saying to them, I hope there are, maybe there are, saying to them, what you did there is pretty stupid, don't you think? Those are the people. That's what struck me more than anything, is that we have people who through history have given up their lives for Canada to be what it is today. Complain or not, I look around and I don't see many other countries better than this place.
No, there are very few that are.
And we should consider ourselves lucky. And we should be respectful, not insulting. And just because you infer insult doesn't give you the right to insult. Again, I repeat, Trudeau did not stop the pipeline. It was stopped by Joe Biden. It was stopped by an American president who said, nope. And this is me kind of saying, understanding the West and the people who are trying to make our oil industry work the way they think it can. I kind of don't disagree with them too much. And then Biden's the one that permitted the Russian pipeline. So, Aaron, people have a right to be upset. The unfairness that is not only just perceived or inferred, there's also some fact in it, right? There's also some fact in it. And a lot of Americans are making hay with the fact that the Russians get their pipeline, yet, we don't get ours here in Canada, which is an economic, almost an economic fifth column.
I think the largest part, the part that I find the most amusing about Alberta's disgruntlement and disaffection with the Canadian government is that they're upset about transfer payments.
Absolutely.
And the irony in all of this is that their premier is the one that wrote the current transfer payment formula that they don't like when he was in Harper's government, and they elected him their premier. So there's that.
Yeah, well, this is why they're so frustrated, because, and again, I don't blame them. I have a couple of friends, who are in Western Canada, and I've gone hammer and tong with them. I hope in a mature manner, in an adult kind of fashion. I mean, I've had people call me names because we're having a conversation. They don't like what I said. And I take pride in the fact that I don't get personal. I try to remain factual, and I try not to make it a heated conversation. What I've learned is that if you do those things and actually make a good point, you can make a lot of enemies because they have no other way to come after you.
The surest sign that you're doing something right is when those you hate rail against you. So
yeah, no, because and I take that as a badge of honor. You know, I've had people block me, and then they unblocked me, and then I blocked them. I just playing a little game. It's a little game I play because you know I just that part. You know, but in all seriousness, there is, I think, the bottom line here, and I will stop talking, and you can do your summary. My summary is this: is that we've got to be able to talk and listen, and all the talk and all the listening should reflect a sincere effort to try and understand what we both want. Both parties are having the conversation, or the three parties, or the four parties, that we all are trying to get not just what we want, but what we need. You know, when one party starts getting everything they want, which is beyond what they need, the rest of the parties, I assure you, are never happy. So I think there has to be a level of, satisfaction in the conversation and what results from the conversation, and then a level of understanding that you can't have everything you want. And I'm afraid that's where we are now. Now it's just a question of what do I want? What do we want? That's what the world's come down to.
No, it is a question of not only listening but hearing. It's one thing to sit there and let them talk at you. It's another thing to try to comprehend what they're doing. And I can say this: I appreciate what the truckers are trying to do. Okay, it is their right to protest and redress the government for grievances. This is part of what makes the country tick, is your ability to take your problems to those in power to try to get a resolution.
Freedom of speech.
However, when you see something like a Nazi flag or a Gadsden flag or the Confederate battle emblem, if that is not part of your stated goal, it is upon you as a protester to try to get that removed. You don't go to a Nazi rally for the schnitzel. That's it. So
yeah, and you know what? It's I said it was the last bit I was going to say about that, so let's make it the last. But that line always, the line that always echoes, and it becomes a joke because can't we just get along?
Believe me, I've thought that a lot. That's far too much.
So in and the long shadow of the prime minister now is cascading over this whole event now. There were jokes about him hiding. Well, he's not hiding, but apparently he has COVID-19, so he's in isolation, not by choice, but by rules.
Yeah, him and his two sons have apparently both contracted COVID, or his two children, sorry, have both contracted COVID. So they are currently isolating. They all apparently feel fine. But again, the reason why he hasn't been out and about is he originally tested positive on the Friday, right before all of this went down, and he's been isolating since. So
what a coinky dink.
I thought that too, but I wouldn't wish this on anybody. You and I both know long haul.
Oh, absolutely.
Frank, and it's not fun.
I'm not even saying it isn't true. I just think I meant what I said. It's one heck of a coincidence, right?
It is. It's a little bit convenient, one might say, but at the same time,
you know what? Circumstances. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So, it is what it is. Okay, the Rough Riders. Let's go to the Canadian Football League. The Rough Riders Inc. Canadian kicker Brett Lawther. Good pick here.
Yeah, definitely. They rode the strength of his leg during a couple games. This guy from Truro is getting a 2-year extension, which is awesome. Hopefully, they'll come back for Touchdown East. I'm sure he'd like to be able to play on the East Coast, so that's a good thing.
Here's a weird one. Lamar Durant, who's leaving a team from his hometown to come to Hamilton.
Yeah, this one I thought was interesting. I mean, he was released by the Lions on January 21st. He played 9 games with them last season for 263 yards while also rushing for 18. I just think it's interesting that after his 6 seasons with BC and Calgary, he's now going to the Hamilton Tiger Cat. That's going to be a big shift. That's a
Absolutely.
culture. That's a cultural sea change right there.
Well,
So it'll
and
be good
he's,
for him.
he's a ratio Canadian.
Yeah.
Another receiver, this one not signed by Ty Cats, Stephen Dunbar Jr.
So this is another good one. I'm glad that they picked him back up again. I mean, he had 630 yards for them and 4 touchdowns last year. So he's definitely a part of the offense and something that they need to consider.
Simone Lawrence is back with the Ty Cats. So I guess he found a condo with high ceilings.
I'm guessing he finally did. Yeah, because
He said, "I'll stay if you can get me." Never mind. He'd already signed when he said that, so we know he was kidding. He was having fun. Veteran offensive lineman Figueroa signs extension with the Lions.
Yeah, so it's good to see Joey Figs is back. He was actually supposed to become a free agent next week, so I'm glad that they locked him up when he did. It's going to be his 9th CFL season and his 4th with BC. So congratulations to him on that.
Sir Vincent Rogers signs a 1-day contract to retire as a Red Black. He was an Argo, and in his first year as an Ottawa Red Black, he sent me a little football, not because of what I do, but because somehow I came up on a list because I follow the CFL so much. I won a prize for being an active participant in the Canadian Football League. I don't know if I should have returned it. Should I have returned? I didn't anyway. Just a little tiny football. It's over here somewhere. Go ahead.
Well, he was the league's most outstanding lineman in 2015 and a CFL All-Star in 2015 and 18, and was actually integral with the Red Blacks winning the Cup in 2016. So I'm glad that he's back. I'm assuming you're looking for that little piece of memorabilia back there, eh, Frank?
Yeah, it's here somewhere up on the top. I think that's the one up on top there that you can't see. It's okay. It's a CFL football, but it's a mini football. It's not a
full size.
No. But it was really nice of him to do that. Well, this is going to be an interesting signing by the Toronto Argonauts. Bethel Thompson gets signed by the Toronto Argonauts. Tough ending for the season. I don't know how the fans feel about this. I haven't really had a chance to see the reaction of the fans, but there's always been a segment of the Toronto Argonaut fan group that have not been very positive about Bethel Thompson. And usually it comes to the same reason as, basically great stats, wonderful attitude, great man, great teammate, but just hasn't won a big game. And the last game that he played that they should have won, and he should have been one of the reasons. The Argos didn't, but they're signing him and giving him another chance.
The joke in our particular section of the stands when it came to MBT was that he was gonna pass for 3 and run for 8 to make sure he could get the first down. But I am glad to see him back. I know that he logged 203 completions on 306 attempts and threw for 2,300 yards last year. So that's part of the stats that plays into it here. We're hoping that he has a stellar season next year as well.
Now, with the Maple Leafs, who would you have thought would have gotten a hat trick for the Maple Leafs before bunting?
Anybody. I got to be honest though, I love it because on the day that his hometown was featured in Hometown Hockey,
I know Scarborough. Yeah, and they made the announcement as well that he is the first hometown hockey representative. When they do hometown hockey, they go to a town somewhere in Canada. They went to Scarborough. He is the first player to get a hat trick on that evening, that afternoon, whatever, of all the Canadian teams or any of the teams playing that day, which are a lot. And he's the first one to get a hat trick, being from the hometown that was, shared with the country. Really nice for him. Carey Price continues to believe and hope that he makes it back. I don't think anybody wishes that against him. How are you on that one?
Well, going into the last minute of play, Carey Price has indicated that he really does want to come back, and he's saying that getting the help that he did for his issues, I think, has been one of the best things for him. He's made a lot of great strides mentally. Unfortunately, physically, he's a little bit behind. So he's using that as motivation to keep going, because I know he wants to get back.
The Anaheim Mighty Ducks have played a lot of Canadian teams in the recent week or weeks. And Gibson has done one thing throughout his trip through Canada. He's made more than 40 saves, it seems, at every stop, and won.
No, he was absolutely stellar again for the Ducks. They took Ottawa down 2-1. He made 44 saves. So
The Jets snapped the winning streak. We've been talking about how low they've been going. They finally won a game.
yeah, and St. Louis has been up and down. Losing 7-1 to the Flames, then beating them 5-1. Less than a week later, to again dropping this one 4-1 to the Jets. It's been up and down.
Grudor won. Kane scored for Edmonton in his first game and threw an elbow too. Apparently, one that was missed by the officials.
Yeah, it was convenient, but that's where we are with this one. He seems to be fitting in well.
Absolutely, a good player, and if he does, become the kind of player that stays away from some troublesome issues, he will be a big asset, Aaron, for that team.
Yeah, down the road if he can see himself past it.
Absolutely, Aaron. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, airing Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.